When I turned 60 years old, something inside me began to shift. It wasn't sudden, and it wasn't dramatic. But it felt like life gently tapped me on the shoulder and whispered, "It's time to live differently now." For many years, I carried roles and responsibilities like armor, the caretaker, the professional, the peacemaker, the one who always showed up. And for a long time, that gave me purpose. But after 60, I realized that some of the things I used to do, the things I thought I had to do, were quietly holding me back. This video is not about regrets. It is about release. It is about the quiet strength that comes with age, not in spite of it, but because of it. And if you are a woman in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, I want you to know something important. You are not invisible. You are not behind. You are just in a new season, and it is yours to shape. So today, I want to share 5 things I have let go of after turning 60 and what I gained in return. And if any part of this speaks to your heart, I hope you'll stay with me until the end. Because the last one, well, let's just say it took me a lifetime to realize I never needed it at all. 1. I let go of pleasing everyone. For most of my life, I was what people would call the nice one. The one who showed up early, stayed late, remembered birthdays, brought the casserole, and said yes, even when every part of me wanted to say no. And if you're anything like me, you probably know what I mean. There's something about being raised as a woman, especially in our generation, that taught us to put everyone else first. We were praised for being selfless, for being helpful, for being agreeable. And little by little, we forgot how to say, "This is not right for me." I used to think that keeping people happy was my responsibility. I thought it was love. I thought it was kindness. But over time, I started to feel tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I noticed how often I would agree to things just to avoid the awkwardness of saying no. I noticed how I would bite my tongue, nod politely, and ignore my own discomfort, just to keep the peace. But peace bought at the cost of your own well-being isn't really peace. It's performance. When I turned 60, I began to ask myself some hard but honest questions. Who am I really trying to please? What happens if I say no? Will the world fall apart? Or will it simply adjust? And you know what I discovered? Most people don't mind when you start honoring your own boundaries, especially the people who genuinely care about you. The ones who truly love you won't love you any less if you speak your truth. In fact, they'll probably love you more for it. But the ones who only loved what you could do for them, well, they might fall away. And maybe that's okay. Because here's what I've learned after 60. Saying no is not rejection. It's protection. It's a way of telling yourself, you matter too. I don't say yes out of guilt anymore. I say yes out of choice. And that choice is rooted in honesty and peace. If I have the energy, the desire, and the time, I'll show up. Fully, joyfully, wholeheartedly. But if I don't, I've learned that it's okay to sit this one out. That my value doesn't come from my availability. It comes from my presence, when it's real and when it's given freely. Letting go of people-pleasing doesn't mean I've stopped caring about others. In fact, I think I care more deeply now, but it means I no longer betray myself in the process. And that's been one of the most healing shifts of this chapter in my life. So, if you've been living your life like it's your job to make everyone else comfortable, I want to gently ask you this. When do you get to be comfortable? Because my friend, your comfort matters. Your peace matters. And you do not need to earn your worth by overextending yourself. You've done enough. You are enough. And the beautiful thing is, once you let go of the need to please everyone, you begin to please the one person who truly needed it all along. You, too. I let go of guilt. Guilt. It's a quiet shadow that followed me through most of my adult life. It crept in at night, when the house was quiet. It whispered when I looked back at old photos or remembered choices I made decades ago. And sometimes, it didn't even need a reason. It was just there, lingering like a weight in my chest. I felt guilty for not being a perfect mother, for snapping when I was tired, for missing moments I can't get back. I felt guilty for not calling enough, for not visiting enough, for not doing enough. And even now, with grown children, I sometimes wonder, did I love them the right way? Did they feel it? I felt guilty as a daughter too, for the times I was too busy to stop by, for the times I didn't say I love you before hanging up the phone. And when my parents passed, as much as I grieved, I also carried this lingering ache that whispered, you should have done more. And it doesn't stop there. I've felt guilt in friendships, in marriage, in work, for saying too much, for saying too little, for putting myself first, for not putting myself first. It's a maze. And the truth is, for a long time, I didn't even question it. I thought guilt was part of being a good woman, a good person, that it was just something I had to carry. But something shifted after 60. One quiet morning, I remember it clearly, I was sitting by my window with a cup of tea, and I asked myself, who is this guilt serving? Is it making me better, kinder, closer to the people I love? Or is it just keeping me stuck in the past, apologizing for things I can no longer change? And just like that, I realized, guilt doesn't help you love better. Forgiveness does, especially the kind you give to yourself. Since then, I've started practicing what I call gentle truth. I look at the past honestly, but I do it kindly. I remind myself I did the best I could with what I knew, with what I had at the time. And if I could go back and do it differently, I would. But I can't. None of us can. So instead of carrying guilt like armor, I choose to carry grace. I talk to myself the way I would talk to my daughter or my best friend. I don't scold that younger version of me. I thank her. I thank her for trying, for holding it all together, for loving, even when it was messy. Letting go of guilt hasn't made me careless. It's made me compassionate. It's opened my heart to others who are also learning as they go. It's softened the way I see the world and the way I see myself. If you're listening to this and feeling the sting of guilt somewhere deep inside, I want to tell you something very simple and very true. You don't have to keep paying for something that's already been lived. You have permission to lay it down. You have permission to move forward, not with shame, but with wisdom. And maybe that's the gift of age. Not that we become perfect, but that we finally stop pretending we ever had to be. 3. I let go of rushing. For as long as I can remember, I've lived by the clock. Breakfast at 7, school drop-off at 8, work by 9, meetings, errands, dinner on the table, dishes, laundry, repeat. Even weekends felt like a checklist. And even in retirement, I noticed it. That internal urgency, telling me I should be doing something, accomplishing something, staying busy, staying useful, staying productive. But after turning 60, I started asking myself, why? Why was I still rushing? Why was I still measuring my worth by how much I got done in a day? There's a strange belief so many of us carry, especially as women, that slowing down is somehow lazy, that rest needs to be earned, that if we don't keep moving, we'll fall behind. But the truth is, I'm not racing anyone anymore. And more importantly, there's nowhere to get to that's more important than here. So I began to slow down, not in some grand, dramatic way, but in small moments. I stopped cramming my mornings with chores. I stopped filling every empty space with noise or motion. I started sitting longer with my tea, watching the wind move through the trees, letting silence be part of my day, not something to fix, but something to feel. I began walking without headphones, eating without multitasking, breathing deeper, noticing more. And you know what surprised me? The world didn't fall apart. Nothing collapsed because I decided to take my time. In fact, everything became clearer. My conversations got richer. My memories felt closer. And I started reconnecting with a part of myself I hadn't heard from in years. The part that simply wanted to be, not just do. Letting go of rushing didn't mean I stopped being active. I still enjoy a full life. Gardening, volunteering, spending time with my grandkids. But now I do it with intention. Not out of obligation, not to stay busy for the sake of being busy, but because I want to. And on days when I wake up and feel slow, unmotivated, or just tired, I don't fight it. I let myself have slow mornings. I putter. I rest. I sit in the sun. I remember that I am allowed to simply exist without proving anything. Because I've realized that some of the most sacred things in life happen in the pause, in the unhurried moment, in the space between one breath and the next. If you've been carrying that old voice in your head, the one that says, you should be doing more, I want you to try something. Ask yourself gently, says who? And then, listen to your body. Listen to your heart. Because after 60, your time is no longer a resource to be managed. It is a gift to be savored. You have earned this slowness, and in it, you might just find a kind of joy that rushing could never give you. 4. I let go of trying to look young. I used to think aging was something I needed to hide, something to manage, to delay, to fix. There was a stretch of years, maybe decades, when I believed that looking young was the closest thing I had to a shield, a way to stay relevant, a way to stay wanted. I remember standing in front of the mirror, squinting at the fine lines, tugging at my neckline, adjusting my clothes to hide the parts I thought had gone soft. I remember buying creams that promised to lift and smooth, foundations that claimed to erase time, and diets that promised to turn back the clock. I wasn't chasing beauty as much as I was chasing acceptance, trying to keep up in a world that moves fast and rarely slows down long enough to notice the richness of a woman who has lived. And I know I wasn't alone. So many of us were raised to believe that youth was our prime, that our beauty had an expiration date. And when we crossed that invisible line, maybe it was after 40 or 50 or 60, the compliments started to fade. The attention shifted. Suddenly, we became background characters in our own stories. But the truth is, I didn't feel invisible. I felt full of memory, of wisdom, of strength. I had weathered heartbreak, raised children, built a career, made mistakes, and made amends. I had laughed and cried and learned and forgiven. My face, my body, they were not broken. They were a map, a history of how deeply I had lived. So sometime after 60, I made a quiet but powerful decision. I let go of trying to look young. I let go of covering my silver hair and let it grow in with pride. Not because I had given up, but because I had finally shown up for myself. I stopped chasing trends meant for someone else's season of life, and instead asked myself what felt good on my skin, what colors made me feel alive, what fabrics made me feel comfortable. I gave myself permission to dress for joy, not for judgment. And I stopped apologizing for the way my body had changed. These hands that have held babies, stirred soups, written letters, and wiped away tears, they are softer now. But they are capable, and they are kind. This face, with its laugh lines and creases around the eyes, it is not something to blur or correct. It is proof that I have felt deeply, that I have lived fully. And I have no intention of erasing that. Letting go of trying to look young didn't mean I stopped caring for myself. In fact, it meant I started caring better. Now I move my body to feel strong, not to chase a number on a scale. I eat to nourish, not to punish. I rest when I need it, without guilt. I wear lipstick when it brings me joy, and I skip it when it doesn't. My beauty routine has become less about correction and more about celebration. And here's the unexpected gift. When I stopped trying to look young, I didn't disappear. I reappeared. I started attracting new kinds of attention, not the kind based on youth or surface-level charm, but the kind rooted in depth, presence, and confidence. People listen more. They ask more meaningful questions. They lean in, because realness draws people in. There's something magnetic about a woman who is not chasing the past, who carries herself like she belongs, not because of how she looks, but because she knows who she is. And to the younger women watching this, let me say something that I wish someone had said to me. Aging is not a failure. It is not something to dread or fear or fight. It is a gift, a privilege denied to many. And when you embrace it with grace and honesty, it will give back to you in ways you never imagined. So, to every woman listening who has been afraid of the mirror, or the camera, or even just the way others might perceive her now, I want to offer this truth. You are allowed to age. You are allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be beautiful on your own terms. Let the world change its definition of beauty. Let it evolve. But you don't need to change a thing to be worthy of love, respect, or admiration. You're not less than you once were. You're more knowing, more resilient, more free, and maybe, just maybe the most beautiful chapter of your life is still ahead. 5. I let go of proving my worth. For most of my life, I thought my value came from what I did for others. From the outside, I probably looked like I had everything handled. I kept the house running. I remembered the birthdays. I cooked the meals, folded the laundry, managed the schedules. I was the one who made sure things didn't fall apart, even when I was falling apart inside. And for a long time, I believed that was what made me a good woman, a good wife, a good mother, a good daughter, someone who gave and gave and gave, without asking for much in return. But looking back now, I can see how much of that came from a deep, unspoken belief that I had to earn love, that I had to constantly prove my worth by showing up, doing more, staying quiet, keeping the peace, putting myself last. Even in the small things, like making sure everyone else had a full plate at dinner before I sat down, or double-checking the guest towels before a visitor came over, there was this quiet, persistent pressure. Be enough. Be good. Be useful. No one ever said it to me directly, but the world has a way of rewarding women who sacrifice themselves without complaint. And over time, it became a habit, a rhythm I didn't question. Until I turned 60. Something changed then, not all at once, but gently, slowly, like a sunrise behind the clouds. I started waking up and realizing I was tired. Not just the kind of tired that sleep could fix, but soul tired. Worn down from years of trying to be everything for everyone. And I asked myself a question I had never dared to ask before. What if I stopped trying to prove my worth? At first, the question scared me, because if I wasn't holding everything together, if I wasn't the helper, the doer, the caretaker, who was I? But slowly, as the pace of life softened and the house got quieter, I began to hear a new voice inside me, a quieter one, kinder. It said, "You've done enough." It said, "You are enough." I started letting go, letting the dishes sit in the sink a little longer, letting someone else take the lead on Thanksgiving, letting myself rest in the afternoon, not because I'd earned it, but because I was tired, and that was reason enough. I stopped saying yes out of obligation. I stopped over-explaining my choices. I stopped believing that my value was tied to how productive I was on any given day. Because the truth is, my worth isn't in how much I give. It's in who I am, even when I'm giving nothing at all. Now, I try to love people from a place of fullness, not depletion. I show up when I want to, not because I feel guilty. I speak honestly, even if it feels uncomfortable. And I've learned to receive, too, something I used to struggle with. Help, kindness, compliments. I let them land now without batting them away. I don't feel the need to overperform anymore. I don't decorate every corner for every holiday. I don't stretch myself thin to make others comfortable. I don't pretend I'm not tired or sad or overwhelmed, because showing up as my full, honest self, that's what real strength looks like now. Letting go of the need to prove my worth has also helped me soften in other ways. I'm more present, more patient, more playful even. I find beauty in smaller things: warm sun on my hands, the smell of bread in the oven, the sound of birds early in the morning. I don't rush through these things. I let them matter. And when that old voice creeps in, the one that says I should be doing more, offering more, making myself useful, I smile at it. I tell it gently, not today. Today, I'm enough, just as I am. If you're listening to this, and you've been carrying that same invisible pressure, the feeling that you have to earn your seat at the table through constant effort, I want to say something to you directly. You have nothing left to prove. You've already loved so many. You've already worked so hard. You've already poured yourself into countless moments, meals, hugs, phone calls, late nights, early mornings. You've already shown up more times than anyone could ever count. And now it's your time to just be. To sit without rushing, to rest without guilt, to receive without apology, to laugh loudly, to cry openly, to say no and mean it, to say yes only when it feels like peace. You don't have to be useful every minute of the day. You don't have to prove your love through exhaustion. You don't have to keep doing to keep being worthy. You already are. You are worthy. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are lovable, not because of how much you give, but because of how deeply you feel. You are important, not because of how many roles you filled, but because of the soul you bring into this world. So take off the pressure, lay down the burden. Let yourself live lighter. This next chapter of your life doesn't require hustle. It requires truth. It requires you to believe, finally, fully, that you are already enough, just as you are. So here we are, at the end of this little journey together. And if you're still with me, I want to thank you, not just for watching, but for being open, for listening with your heart, for maybe seeing a part of yourself in my words. These 5 things I've let go of. They weren't easy to release. They were woven into how I lived, how I loved, how I moved through the world. But letting them go didn't leave me empty. It made room for peace, room for laughter, room for a quieter kind of strength. Because this chapter of life after 60, isn't about fading. It's about becoming more present, more honest, more free, and most of all, becoming more you than you've ever been before. If no one else has said this to you lately, let me be the one to say it. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not invisible. You are wise. You are beautiful. You are needed. Exactly as you are. Right here. Right now. And if this video meant something to you, even just a little, I hope you'll stay connected. This space, this channel, Wise Elders Insight, is a place where we honor the journey of aging, not as a decline, but as a deepening, a blooming. You're not alone on this path. There's a whole community of women walking it with you, quietly, courageously, and full of grace. So if you're ready to keep growing, healing, and becoming alongside others who truly understand, I invite you to subscribe, to share this with a friend, or to leave a comment below. Tell me what you've let go of, or what you're learning to hold gently. Until next time, take care of your heart, take care of your body, and remember, you don't need to prove a thing. You already are enough. I'll see you in the next video.